other fellow that stood up with me. Al and my brother-in-law Al, he's not here, and a good friend of ours, Joe Anderlich, and Darlene's husband, Jim Harder, were my best man. Jim was my best man, and the others were, what do they call them? Grooms. And we all went out that morning to clean the last of my stuff out of my apartment in Cicero. And then we went to Community to get something, and my best man told me that he lost the ring. And I said, well, that's not going to stop this. And I went over to the jewelry department and bought a $2 ring. And then I said, here, don't worry about the ring, I got one. What'd you do that for? I said, I was just kidding. So we took it back. And then we went to my dad's house, my mother and father's house, to put our tuxedos on. And I think I'm the only person in history that caught himself shaving with an electric razor. My dad's Remington had one little thing missing, and it was bent. It was broke, one of the little separators on it, and it scratched me. I had to shave with the other part of the razor because I don't know what had happened to it. It had a big thing on me. Fortunately, you couldn't see it. And it was kind of an interesting morning for me. We first went to breakfast. Some of you may remember at Five Corners at St. Charles, Geneva and Main Street Road there. There used to be a little restaurant after it was a grocery store. The grocery store had a big sign on it that said, if you can't come in, smile as you go by. It was one of those places you'll never forget because you saw that sign so many times. And I had to go to the washroom before we left. And all of a sudden I got the wedding jitters and almost wanted to climb out the window. But I knew if I did that, she would really be steamed. So I decided not to do it. And we went and we did the wedding, and I'll never forget her walking down the aisle, blushing. I never saw her blush, anyone blush like she did. And then we went to, the photographer seemed to run the party. He seemed to be in charge back then. I don't know if they did that at other weddings, but he did the whole wedding. And he said, no, after the wedding, he says, usually we take pictures in the church, do the portraits and stuff, and everyone waits outside with rice. And fortunately, they didn't do it like I used to do it with rice pudding. But you missed that when you got married, Jim. I'd grown up a little in the meantime. But he said, go and do the parade thing, and then come back to the church, and we'll go to my studio and take the pictures. It was really kind of neat because it gave us a chance to regroup and gather our wits before going to the reception. We went to the reception, and my Aunt Florence was standing at the door. Where have you been? We've been waiting here for nearly an hour.
Oh my gosh.
We had to go have our pictures taken, Aunt Florence, and we decided that we didn't want you waiting outside the church, so you could wait here more comfortably. Well, but still, it's been nearly an hour. That was my Aunt Florence. And then, of course, the firemen had to leave because it was at a fire hall, and all the volunteer firemen, the bartenders were volunteer firemen, and all of a sudden, some of the family had to jump in and tend bar. And then we ran out of food. And what did the caterer say to you about our family?
Oh, I don't want to repeat what she said, but it was not very nice, and she was so upset. My mother asked her, you sure we're going to have enough food? Oh yeah, we always have enough food for it. And then she's, this family, I have never seen people eat like this.
It wasn't her family, it was my family.
Oh my God.
My Uncle Ed took one look at it, at the buffet, and he says, there's not going to be enough for seconds. He was thinking of thirds.
He asked me, are there gonna be enough for seconds? I said, yeah, there should be, you know. It wasn't, so.
So
So I'm sorry if some of you went home hungry, but.
I don't remember that part.
What do you say?
Was McDonald's around then?
Yeah, yeah.
You made it up.
Yeah, blast, it was.
I know it was.
No,
You
it
made up
wasn't.
for it today, though.
I do not believe it
You like
was.
McDonald's? Huh?
You got a
My
question
mother-in-law-
on the couch.
No, she wants McDonald's.
my mother-in-law had told us before the wedding,
Later.
"No, Larry, we're spending a lot of money on this wedding," which is about half, I think, what the rest of the family spent on them. And she said, "No, we don't want you to come and leave early. We want you to stay around for a while and enjoy it." And so we did stay until she kicked us out and said, "People are wanting to leave, don't time." So we went out and went to the car, and Darlene's husband, Jim, my best man, well, before the wedding, I was kind of worried about my one groom, his name was Joe, because he was an aspiring alcoholic at the time, and he could put down a case of beer and a case of quarts on a Saturday afternoon and think nothing of it. And I never,
No, you never
Dave
did.
can't fathom that. He was pretty good at it. And he told me, he said, "Listen," he says, "don't worry about me at your wedding." He says, "I know it doesn't look good when the wedding party has to be poured into their cars." He said, "I know how to behave at a wedding." And he did a splendid job. But my best man, Jim, and also my best friend at the time, he went to take us home, take us back to our car, him and Darlene, and we go to get into the car, and Jim says to me, "Just a minute." He says, "You're going to Wisconsin on your honeymoon." He says, "It's going to be cold up there, and I want you to take my jacket with you," which was big-hearted of him, but nevertheless, I told him, "Jim, I've got a jacket. We're all packed. There's no problem." "No, you got to take my jacket." And he was feeling his oats really well. And he turns around, and he says, "I'm going to give you my jacket." And he sticks his keys into the taillight and tries to open the trunk. And then I realized, and he's saying something like, "Boy, could that old bag drink." And he was talking about about Aunt Mabel, who used to own a tavern. And Sue says to me, "It looks like he never met Aunt Mabel before." And what she used to do when she had her tavern is people would buy her a drink. And she would take a shot and a glass of ginger ale for a wash, and she'd drink the shot and spit it into the wash, pretending to take the wash it down with. And so she's drinking him shot for shot, and she's drinking him under the table, so to speak. And she did. And then on the way home, and poor Darlene was 7 months pregnant at the time.
She's right there.
Oh, there you are.
No,
And-
9 months. 9 months.
Oh, and she's got to take us home, back to our car. He's drunker than a skunk. And we're going on the way back, and Darlene says, she lays down in the back seat, and she says, "Jim, you're not sitting on the cake, are you?"
Oh,
"Oh, no, dear, I'm not sitting on the cake. I'm laying on it."
You forgot I had to drive Joe all the way to Glen Ellen
Yeah.
and then go into Chicago where we live. It was fun.
Drunks in the car, yeah, right. But Aunt Mabel actually put those shots in the plant.
she killed the plant.
I don't know.
And
Did she?
Christy and,
That's what I heard.
Did with the water, yeah.
Aunt Mabel.
Gosh.
But she was
Christy
putting them,
drank the same thing.
putting them in the plant, yeah.
Okay.
See, no one knew that she didn't drink.
And Christy.
Yeah.
And then when Sue says I should tell you when we met, right?
Well, no, I was
Oh,
going,
you
we were
were-
supposed to start off with where we met. Why
Okay,
don't
you're-
you have any stories from the wedding that you'd like to share?
Because our outline showed up after I started.
No, you're just not listening to me today.
I think it started out this way.
Yeah. Does anybody have any remembrances from the wedding itself?
Well, from before the wedding, Sue
Thank you.
and Larry and my husband and Jim.
Next time I'll aim at you.
In Wisconsin. And,
We were
I
at
won't-
the,
I
well,
was there too.
yeah, Joan was there. But I will never go into the story. I went and stayed, I went and came home with Joe and his children and Jim, who none of us liked. And Suzanne took my car and went home with Joan and who else? Somebody else.
Joan and I think Marilyn Stig was there. I don't
Yeah,
know
she
what
there?
happened.
Was she
Yeah.
Yeah, she was there.
Yeah.
And so when I got home, the aunts and my mother all got together and were yapping. How could you come home with two strange men? I said, there were two children in the car too. And how could Suzanne take your car and drive home? And I went, I don't know what the problem is. Yeah, I didn't know what the problem was. So Jim and I started going out. You know, we talked about him when we were at the bar, that he was just awful. We did. Yeah, because he brought that blonde to the table.
Oh, I don't remember that.
Oh, I do.
Oh, yeah. She was already jealous. And she didn't even like him.
So we got together and then, you know, we would see Larry with other friends and whatnot. And Jim was saying, well, why don't we get Suzanne and Larry together? I said, oh my God, no. What if Suzanne doesn't like Larry? I don't want to do that. So finally, Jim kept on nitpicking. I said, okay, fine. And Suzanne said, what took you so long?
I think
So since then, they've been together.
we were, maybe Joan wants to tell. We went up to Ackerman.
Yeah. Were you there?
Yeah, Darlene was there.
And Larry kept falling down the stairs somehow.
No, yeah.
I didn't get into that. It was goofy.
No,
For no
we were-
reason.
There
Couldn't
were
exactly fall down.
There were some guys
that just
some guys were sitting on the back porch of Ackerman's.
They must have been drinking.
They were. And we didn't know that. We were kind of naive at the time. And then Larry and Jim came walking up the stairs, or up from upstairs, because Jim had taken Darlene back to where she was. But then this one guy, all at once, he got up and he punched Larry and knocked him down the stairs. And I thought, well, that's weird. And Larry got up and he walked up the stairs again.
Yeah, he kept coming back.
Yeah. And he went
Not the
down.
second time.
No, then he went down the stairs again, and with that, Joan and I ran away. We ran up to our rooms. I was never so scared. I thought, oh, what are we going to do next? Us. Yeah.
That's the first time she laid eyes on me, backward out the door.
What a guy. It was, we got up to our rooms and we were safe, but I don't know what happened to Larry.
You don't know what it, no
We
reason.
came down and we left.
Yeah.
They just decided to punch him.
Yeah.
He was dumb enough to get up and try it again.
Yeah.
They were looking for excitement, they found a little excitement.
They knew you were competition. that
When
you
my
were-
friend
you were
Joe
gonna get
found
Sue.
out about it, I'm sorry,
They knew you were a big competition and you were gonna get Suzanne.
well, I was not a fighter though.
No, he was looking at Marilyn Stig with the big. She lives up to far. Oh my goodness. Well, that's okay. They won't. She was very cute, very well. No.
When my friend Joe found out about it, he insisted that Jim and I go back up there and find those guys. That was the next day. I think it was a Memorial Day weekend.
No, it was
What a
July
way to
4th.
spend
July
the
4th weekend? Yeah. All right, and I said, no, let it rest. No, we gotta go. And he pushes in, we go up there. And we're going up by the resort, walking up toward there. And two of the guys that were in that crowd, and one of the guys that didn't, were coming the other way. And I had a decision to make to say, Joe, here they are. And I decided to shut up. I said, it's over with. I didn't get hurt. They're gonna grow up. Maybe I'll grow up. I think that was one of the points where I grew up a little bit. And I said, I thought, there won't be, this way there won't be any cops. No one goes to the hospital. It's not like in the movies. A lot of times you don't walk away from those things. And I'll tell you, Joe could have taken both of them on without Jim and I lifting a finger, and they would have both gone to the hospital.
Yeah, I think Joe was
So,
a good guy.
I decided to let it rest.
But the second night that they came up, I saw Larry. Somehow, he and I were out of the resort. Yeah, and I just looked at him, and I felt such a strong attraction to him. I couldn't tell you what he looked like or anything, but I knew this was a very important person. So then.
Hormones.
Then the weekend was over, and we went home, and then around
the one
August, we
who
were
was
all in
clapping.
Emily's house, and Jim and Darlene were there, and I said, oh, I haven't had a date in so long, it's been so long, you know? And so then, yeah, I knew they knew Larry, and I wanted to go out with them. So then Jim said, why don't we fix you up with Larry? And I'm like, yeah. And Darlene said, no, that's not going to work, Jim. And I was going to kill her. She didn't want to fix us up, but it happened that they did fix us up. And the thing that I found so great about that, we were scheduled to go out on a first blind date, so to speak, and that weekend he canceled. He said, no, he had to see an old girlfriend. No, it was an old girlfriend he'd been going out with, and he went out with her, and he came away from that date not wanting anything to do with her. A boyfriend that I had dated suddenly showed up after a couple of months that week, and I hated him. He brought some pictures in of us together, and I threw it back at him. I'm not interested in those. I didn't want them, you know, and I just didn't want to ever see him again.
That was the one that bought me all the candy.
Yeah.
Well, that's when I used to double date a lot.
Because you were with his friends.
We used to double date a
No,
lot.
it's a cousin.
Okay, she was doctors.
Yeah,
From New York. So anyway, then when I saw this guy, I knew it was over with between him and I. And then the next weekend we went out. And I think Larry was the nicest person I had ever dated.
but he didn't bring me any candy, Sue.
But we were just so comfortable with
I didn't
each
bring her
other.
any either.
Well, he didn't bring her any candy. He brought it for me.
Oh, I'd have gotten in trouble doing that.
No,
Oh,
he
she'd have
gave
had
it
a
to
cow if
me.
I'd done that.
Yeah, because
Well, she wasn't happy with me.
No, I wasn't happy with her. But anyway,
We went for a ride together. She sat in the middle. She wouldn't let me sit next to him.
I had to watch you, Leslie. Every time a boyfriend would come, Leslie could just turn it on. So anyway, then we started dating, and then in October, we were in the car, and he got down on his hands and knees, and I go, what is this? And he said, you know, if things are going the way they are now, can we get married? And I was like, I said,
Things continue to go the way they
yeah.
are.
And I said, yeah, if they continue to go this way, I'd be glad. But don't tell anybody because, we're not sure yet. The next thing I knew, he had told Dara and Jamie and told everyone he knew that we were getting married. So,
I told Pete and Jim, and they told everybody else.
yeah, it just, everybody knew.
Did you say it was a secret?
Yeah, I'm not saying it.
No, you didn't say it was a secret.
Well, everybody knew. Everybody just knew. So,
That's the important part.
Married, right?
yeah.
Well, then I went and started tying payments on her rings.
Yeah, and I think February you asked me to marry, you did give me the ring
Right.
on my finger.
Warburg Jewelers on Cermak Road in Lombard.
Then we got married in June 2nd, 1962. Yeah, so,
Just 3 months later, right?
we dated 9 months.
9 months, but
Yeah.
when you proposed, you were married for 3 months, weren't you?
No, when he proposed, it was October. We started
it?
dating in September, so
Oh, okay.
it was probably a month a month and a
About
half.
2 months.
Yeah, that we knew each other. But we were sure. And he was going to be drafted, so that's why we got married when we did, because he was up to be drafted. Well, then Kennedy came along, and Kennedy said that a man who had a child didn't have to go, into
And then
service.
Larry showed up.
And all once I was pregnant,
Real great.
yeah. So he didn't have to go after.
They really
anyway.
didn't want you, Larry.
No.
They were just from going.
He didn't want to go, I think, yeah. So anyway, it's been 50 years since, and